Hey, what's going on? This is Derek Crabb with the History of Comics on Film. This is going to be a commentary on what is this? Looks like it's part 15. This is, or is it part 14? I think it's part 14. Anyway, this is the Adventures of Superman TV series, which I was always a big fan of. I mean, this is something that I got to see a lot growing up, just because it was usually on things like Nick at Night or probably TV 20. I mean, back in the day, um, like when you used to watch Batman, the same thing. I don't know. That's what the channels that I would see it on. Um, and then it's cool because there are all these sort of interconnected castings here. Whether it's something way later, like how they cast Helen Slater in Smallville, but well, this is you see Noel Neal and Lois and Clark, and you know you see Jack Larson, in a lot of the different shows and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And then here, like, I mean, I guess, I definitely did do a lot of research where I was watching every single episode. I kind of went through the DVD set from the beginning, um, and just kind of, kept watching season after season and making little notes for myself and doing it that way. Um, and I kind of wrestled because I think this was the first one. I mean, I guess the serials, they all had 15 chapters, but I kind of still treated it like it was, just like a movie. And then if anything else, the animated shorts and different things, even Superman and the Mole Man, it's just okay. It's a feature. It's 2 hours, and the serials probably are 3 to 4 hours, but you just think of it as an extended movie. But this is a television series, so I kind of wrestled with how what manner of presentation I should use. Um, and I guess what I came to in this was that I was going to pick out specific episodes and discuss them. The episodes that had the most relevance to maybe making tangents into comics and stuff. Like with this on screen right now, it's like I could talk about Panic in the Sky, the episode, because they had the connection to Lois and Clark here, but it also had the connection to the Panic in the Sky crossover series in the DC Comics too. Um, and then this I was excited about too, because this was probably the first time I got a dual picture to work pretty well. Um, I was kind of wrestling with how to do things like that. I found because this is still Movie Maker right now, and I found a split screen transition, which you probably seen in some of the other videos, but it wasn't. It was more side by side and not top bottom. And so, after a couple tutorials and some workings, I finally got that to work, and I was pretty happy with it. I mean, it's a technique that I'm probably going to continue to use in the future, and it added to my learning, curve as I went along and did these kind of projects. And then I also knew I wanted to talk about the characters that were especially, either, the actors with Robert Shane, but also talk about Inspector Henderson, because I figured, well, you know what, this is pretty much his series. I mean, not that he's the lead, but just that in terms of, I had already covered, things like Lois and Jimmy and Perry White and stuff like that. And so this was going to be, a good focus point for Inspector Henderson. See, it's like you always wonder why Detective Sergeant Henderson couldn't show up on Smallville, but you know, or like a young Hal Jordan on the airbase or something. Like, there's lots of cool Superboy stories like that make you wish that Clark would have ran into him on the Smallville series. At least for me, anyway. And then I think I read somewhere later, like that, because it's like I read a lot of comics, but I don't know everything. And I think I read somewhere later that this is, well, I guess I flubbed this name here because it's actually Professor Pepperwinkle, and I guess I was saying Periwinkle because Perry White, I guess. I don't know. I just whatever. But I guess Pepperwinkle was actually in some of the issues of the Superman comics, like maybe one or two issues too. So I guess I could have done something on that. But I thought he was either created for the series or, kind of like Henderson, maybe he was on this series and then the comic issue was later on. I need to look it up again, but I think he might have appeared in one of them. And then this kind of reminded me of Superman Red and Superman Blue. And then I also kind of decided, like, I could also talk about other Superman characters if they reminded me of different things. Kind of like with this, reminds me of Superman Red and Superman Blue, or that Pepperwinkle's robot reminds me of Metallo. And then the Inspector Henderson appearances on Lois and Clark, they kind of varied, and there was a bunch of different actors, and I just figured this would be a good topic for discussion. Ah, Barney. It's kind of weird though, because after the first season, Inspector Henderson kind of, like there's nothing. They don't do anything with him after that. I don't know if they're trying to distance it from the older series or they just kept having to recast the guy or whatever. And then this was interesting because I had never seen this before. I actually watched this you know, just for my research. And then this is hilarious. This is a good episode. Wait, you've been married to this lady for 15 years? uh, See, the movie depressed the hell out of me, but watching that made me feel better. And then everybody liked this. I don't know. I started keeping track of it. You know, I think I knew I was going to use one Great Caesar's Ghost somewhere, but then I just kept keeping track of it in like every single episode. So I was like, ah, might as well use it. And he was a great Perry White. I think he was the best Perry White. Like, yes, I'm Great Caesar. This was a good skit too. Ah, Phil. Yeah, this made me start thinking about other other bits and things that I could include in videos and try to think outside the box. I mean, sometimes my box had included, you know, all these things like Henderson and Superman the Animated Series, but now I start to think that maybe I'd like to include other stuff, you know, whether it's skits or whatever. So, all right, thanks guys. Bye.